Yo, wagwan peeps, Sanjae Uchiha here. Welcome back to the channel, and as of this recording, we are about 2 or 3 days away from the release of Boruto manga chapter 61. And yes, it feels like it's been forever since I've talked about my expectations when it comes on to the upcoming chapter, since I don't think I did one last month, so I guess we're kind of returning back to the usual schedule with this one. So yeah, but yo, welcome to the channel. Shout out to you if you're viewing me for the first time. Definitely leave a like if you end up enjoying what I have to say regarding the upcoming chapter of Boruto. We're almost at 2,000 subs, so if you do decide to subscribe, I'd appreciate the support. And yo, returning subscribers, hope you guys are doing awesome too. But yo, Boruto chapter 61, honestly, and as per usual, it's not even as per usual, naturally, we have to kind of talk about the events of the previous chapter, chapter 60, before going into at least to use it as a basis to actually predict what's going to happen in chapter 61. Obviously, like, no shit. But yo, again, to kind of backtrack a bit to chapter 60, it was a very beautiful chapter that I really enjoyed. It's one that really signified that Kishimoto switched, at least for that chapter, from a story driven kind of setup to more of a character driven kind of setup, because we got a lot of things that added to the foundation and preparation for the time skip, and a lot of the conflicts that we're expecting, like, Kawaki betraying the village, betraying Naruto, quote unquote, and we added a lot of the things that are going to build towards that in a substantial way, in a more symbolic or metaphoric sense, if you get what I mean, to kind of give you guys an idea of what I'm saying, in case you didn't really check out my chapter 60 reaction or review. Is that chapter 60 really set the foundation with Boruto giving Kawaki the headband, and of course I compared it to the whole Sasuke and Naruto headband deal. And the thing is, what made it beautiful at chapter 60 is that, of course, in the future, Kawaki sees the era of Shinobi as something that's over. But at the moment, Boruto is giving him the headband to say, okay, yo, when you become a full-fledged Shinobi, then, this headband is for that, it's building towards that. But obviously, between that, the contrast between that and what we hear, the dialogue we see in the flash forward, it obviously is going to it's setting up things in a metaphorical or symbolic sense of, yeah, this headband is going to be the source of the bond between Kawaki and the Uzumaki household, or Konoha in general, being broken, him potentially or eventually throwing that headband away, similar to like when Sasuke leaves the village. So I hope you get what I'm trying to go for there. So there's that. Of course, chapter 60 ended with Kawaki saying that, yo, he has another way to protect Konoha and Naruto by extension, and that he doesn't need karma. So going into chapter 61, of course, I think it's going to be a case that Kawaki is going to reveal there's one crucial bit of information that he actually hasn't revealed to Konoha, and it's going to lead him into meeting up with potentially Code, Ida, and Daemon on his own, potentially, before other characters come in and it becomes one huge mess. Granted, I'm not saying that Kawaki is going to meet up with Ko and Ida in chapter 61, but it's going to be the start of that more than likely, I feel, because I think at the end of the day, and I don't know if this is something that's is predictable, or if it's predictable in a good way, but more than likely Kawaki is going to be pushed into a situation where he's going to try something on his own, and something is going to backfire horribly wrong for him to kind of fall back on Amado's plan to give him a artificial karma seal, based on pure power. So that's the thing. Now, speaking of Amado, he's the next kettle of fish, because I think it is time, or probably with chapter 61, we'll get an additional tidbit of information on him. Probably, if it's even to kind of set up a kind of dynamic by putting back Katasuke in chapter 61 to kind of, and probably continue that whole story thread with Sumire investigating him. Probably we'll see Sumire back off eventually, but probably eventually we'll see her in the chapter eventually link Katasuke and say like, hey, did you know about this so and so, when it comes on to Amado, and probably get like a slight flashback with what's going on with Amado, maybe, just maybe. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that could potentially go down. No, crucial, the main character himself, Boruto Uzumaki. I have also said that chapter 60 really like specialized in pushing Boruto, Kawaki, and Naruto's characters in the best direction possible. Well, probably not the best direction possible, but it did it there was some positives in chapter 60 when it came on to pushing those three characters. Let's put it like that. And I'm expecting at least to see more push when it comes on to Boruto, especially if you're like doing the whole Naruto Sasuke dynamic with Kawaki and Boruto, where of course chapter 60, even though it pushed those three, we had a heavy focus on Kawaki for that chapter. So I'm kind of expecting to get a heavy focus on Boruto for this chapter with, of course, still Kawaki and Naruto sprinkled in. So there's that. Now, of course, as I said, the whole thing with Boruto's character is that his character really is going to get the push or the, I don't want to outright say love, but in terms of that drastic change in the perception of Boruto's character from the general audience of the Naruto the Naruto community, that drastic change in his character is going to come when his life essentially goes to shit. And from I would say before the Ishiki fight, Kishimoto slash Kodachi have been doing an excellent job of kind of slowly and subtly pushing towards that, because again, and I make the comparisons that when after the Momoshiki arc, after the Chunin exams, Boruto was pretty confident, he was pretty chill about those who defeat gods can't remain normal people, and he was kind of pushing forward in life with optimism and positivity, saying, okay, I wasn't gonna be a normal person anyway. And as of chapter, finding about karma, the truth behind it, and the fact that Sasuke promised to kill him if needs be, and the Byakugan drugs, we've seen a subtle change in how he expresses himself. He's not as optimistic. It's that subtle decline, that subtle fall into, I guess, despair, if I do say so myself, or at least a more nonchalant, non-optimistic outlook in terms of how he expresses himself. So I'm looking forward to seeing a bit more of a dissection of, or at least a little bit more of a progression when it comes on to Boruto's mindset and how he expresses himself when it comes on to things with karma and his evolving destiny. So hopefully I'm making sense there. Granted, I wouldn't mind if we get some inklings of some reaction or indication that the Byakugan drugs are having an effect. So yeah, I'm hoping to get something like that. I know I'm kind of spewing a bunch of things as per usual, but usually if these things don't happen in the upcoming chapter, it's a long-term thing. So if not now, if even like a future chapter before the time skip, I'm expecting to get some inklings of what I'm saying. So yeah, no, this is kind of more of like a pet peeve, kind of like a not necessarily completely necessary, but it's just something subjective, and I want to see the return of Sasuke. I think it's been too long, like since we've seen Sasuke. What is he up to? I want to see the return of Sasuke and potentially Kashin Koji. If it is even one page or one panel, dog, just to kind of sprinkle as the extra dynamic when it comes on to how these chapters are flowing, because again, I just find it strange that we haven't seen them since. And again, more so in the Kashin Koji sense, his character again cannot die just yet. It would be a really wasted opportunity, because his character is going to serve as a basis for emotional conflict in some shape or form when it comes on to the character of Naruto. So if it's even to start pushing that, probably Naruto comes back to Amado, asks him about that character again, Kashin Koji. What was it about him that I found familiar? Who is he really? At least something to kind of start building that emotional conflict foundation, if I can put it like that. So yeah, it's just like those little things I want to see. Sasuke, again, more so seeing him is more so in line with the type of character he is. I don't see Sasuke being the type to just sit down and chillax given everything that has happened, the fact he's lost his Rinnegan. So yeah, I want to see the merger, and I think Sasuke could be the foundation of this. I want to see Sasuke at like Katasuke's lab potentially, you know, trying to merge the science and the acquired science of Amado with whatever he can do to better himself, to make himself still viable in the field. So yeah, basically basically that, because we don't get any word that he's heading up any other teams searching for code. So I mean, yeah, it's just that the longer we don't hear anything from Sasuke, it's just weird. Granted, they could eventually show him like probably 2-3 chapters from now and say he was been doing this all along. So there's that. I think that might be it for the most part in terms of my expectations and predictions when it comes on to Boruto chapter 61 and beyond. For the most part, again, as I said, Kawaki more than likely will do something stupid on his own that will lead him into a crash course in meeting Code and Ida and Daemon, and of course that will introduce some psychological mental conflicts between in himself in terms of his allegiance to Konoha and you know, our team Kara at this point, Kara 2.0, and of course it's going to lead him to fall back on getting the artificial karma. And yeah, pretty much that in terms of Kawaki. Boruto, as I said, seeing more of his progression and expression, and you know, pushing forward with him, and potentially more on karma and the Byakugan drugs having an effect on him. Naruto, emotional conflict when it comes on to potentially bringing back up Kashin Koji, Sasuke, because the nature of his character, you know, yeah, you get the point. So let's see how chapter 61 boils down for the most part. Hopefully you guys got something out of all that madness that I just said, but respect for tuning in if you made it this far at the same time. So Sanjae Uchiha, respect for coming out, guys. See you in, of course, I will be live streaming my reaction to chapter 61 once I get home from work on what, Wednesday? Wednesday's the chapter, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I'll have to double check. So yeah, but respect for coming out. Hope you guys are having an awesome day, or whenever you're listening to this. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next Boruto video.